How y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about burning. More people being burned. I think you would say it is adult content. Anyway, we'll talk about Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. So the segment begins with our part of the story begins with Alexa Bliss's playground. She's going back to making more burning puns, and she can't wait to show Bray the playground when he gets back. And he says maybe the Fiend is going to return on Legends Night, because his hero is Hulk Hogan. And she says, she knows that he takes his vitamins and he says his prayers, but she doesn't know who he prays to. So she says she's waiting for Randy Orton. She calls Randy Orton to the ring. She calls him 2 times, I think 3 times maybe, and Randy doesn't show up. So then she says that Randy is rude and inconsiderate. Then Randy appears in the fun house, which I didn't like that. And he's in the fun house and he's frustrated, talking about, Bray's coming back, huh? He's going to come back. I'm going to make sure there's nothing to come back to. So he boots poor Huskus, and then he rips Rambling Rabbit. He rips his head off, poor Rambling Rabbit. He grabs old Mercy the Buzzard and slams him into the witch in the window. He's knocking over stuff. And, basically he's like, where is he? When is he coming back? He's just in the fun house tearing up stuff. So, Alexa Bliss, after she ripped the head off a Rambling Rabbit, she was like, I challenge you. I'm challenging you. And he was like, well, since the Fiend is coming back, and this is the spot where the Fiend returns, huh? This is how we gonna get the Fiend back. Is I come into the fun house, I tear stuff up, and now the Fiend comes back. I was like, okay, I accept. The main event of the show is a segment. Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss comes to the ring and she's obviously not dressed for a match, even though she challenged him, but it wasn't a challenge to a match. Well, it was a challenge to a match, but it wasn't that kind of match. It was a different kind of match. So she comes to the ring, and Randy Orton comes to the ring, and she's like, okay, where is he? Where's the Fiend? I lit the Fiend on fire. Where is he? And Alexa Bliss goes out there, she gets a box. And I was waiting for Randy to say, what's in the box? What's in the box? And it felt like to be like the Fiend's head in the box, but it ended up being a gas can and a box of matches. And she challenges Randy Orton to set her on fire. And Randy just kind of looks and is like, what? And he doesn't do it. So then she sort of entices him by pouring gasoline all over the ring, poured like a straight line of gasoline from Randy Orton to herself, and then tries to hand him the matches, and Randy Orton wouldn't take the matches. And then she says, he's a coward, that he was a bitch, he ain't got no guts, and she pours all of the gasoline all over herself. And Randy says, okay, look, I want to do it, but I know this is what you want. So, he really was kind of torn on whether to give her really what she wants. And she's got these facials going where she's like crying almost. She's biting the shit out of her bottom lip, like, do it now. And, the lights turn out, and then we see Randy Orton with the match, and the match is lit, and then the show goes off the air. The cliffhanger of all cliffhangers, which was, of course, then destroyed immediately because Raw Talk came on, and Charlie and R-Truth acted like, oh, well, nobody got set on fire, so it's like, fuck. Okay, so let's talk about this stuff, man. All right, so I love Randy. I'm torn on Randy Orton inside of the Funhouse, because the Funhouse should not be a physical place for Randy Orton to just enter. But I do like it. It was almost like Toy Story, where the puppets were completely still. They weren't interactive. Like, they didn't beg for their lives or anything. It's like I said, it was like Toy Story. Like, you walked in, and everything was just in its proper place, not moving. and he was able to kick things over and do damage, and nobody squealed for their lives like, no, Randy, don't, no, come on, brother. Nothing. It was like everything was already dead. It was like it was a setup. That's kind of how it felt. It kind of felt like he walked into this arena that was already set up, and they already knew he was coming. But the Funhouse being this place where like just Seth Rollins can show up, and just like random people could just pop up and just go into the Funhouse is weird. Especially since at WrestleMania we kind of set up that the Funhouse was sort of inside of Bray's mind, or it was like a different dimension. So that was weird. Like when John Cena went to the Funhouse, I keep calling it the Playhouse, into the Funhouse. It was like this mystical, psychological thing, right? Where he started, falling into his own brain, and he ended up going crazy. And he turned heel and became a member of the NWO, and it was all nutty, right? But now it's like random Seth Rollins can always walk in and burn shit, and now Randy Orton can go in there and rip the heads off puppets and tear stuff up and cut mean promos, and it's perfectly fine. So it almost feels like maybe it was a setup, but we have to get that part straightened out. So I did legit want to know what was going on with the challenge, because I knew for a fact they wasn't gonna fight. So I was like, challenge him to do what though? And I didn't know what it could possibly be. I did not think at all she was going to challenge him to set her on fire. Now I did. Once I saw the gas can, I was like, oh shit. She's going to challenge him to burn her, to set her on fire. Now, this was a very mixed situation here, because it is so over the top. It is so over the top. It kind of breaks the illusion, because he's not really going to set a woman on fire. Now, we already know that. But he also can't be put in a position where he can't burn the woman either, because you don't really want to cut the balls off your heel, right? Like, why would you cut? Like, Randy Orton's getting darker and darker and darker, right? So we went from Randy kind of being he was kind of going to be the babyface in this thing because the Fiend is a heel, and now he's an even more dastardly heel than the Fiend. Now he seems to be even more pure evil than the Fiend. And, we're in a position now where, okay, now we got Randy about to murder this woman, who can't defend herself. And she's laying in the middle of the ring, really taunting him too, really, really picking his brain. And he doesn't do it, So apparently we'll know next week whether he burned her alive or not, even though Raw Talk was live. And this is what pissed me off, because Raw Talk comes on immediately after Raw. It wasn't like they could do it in a different spot. They had to do it exactly where the fucking ring is, so you can see whether the ring is on fire or not. It's like kayfabe couldn't last. Like, we couldn't get like a Fiend picture, or that's why this didn't work. This did not work because you broke the immersion. The moment the show went off the air, you had another show in the same vicinity, in the same place, and we can see that nobody's been burned. We can see that it didn't happen. So what you going to tell us next week is that you can't tell us next week that he did it, because we clearly saw that he didn't do it. So, and if he did do it, why didn't the people who were sitting right there sell that it happened? That's what made it so dumb. And this was otherwise pretty good. Okay, because you have a situation where you're testing Randy Orton's depravity. Right? You got Alexa Bliss testing his depravity. How crazy is Randy Orton really? How bad is Randy Orton really getting? How far out of control has he really gotten? And now we've seen that he's, full pyromaniac Randy Orton. He's willing to burn anything and burn anybody. Everybody, every fiber in his being wants to set her on fire. But he was hesitant to give her what she wanted, rather. So it was weird, on its face. I thought it was cool. Before I found out about the Raw Talk segment that came on right afterwards, I thought it was fine. I was like, oh shit, blue ball segment. But you can't cut the balls off your heel by putting him in a situation where he's getting called a bitch and everything. And, apparently we've set up that the rules that you can set somebody on fire and there's no repercussions. So apparently there's precedent to setting people on fire and you can just do it. Like you can just burn people if you want, you know. So, but that was kind of weird that you have another show coming on right afterwards and you're just kind of like, well, I don't know whether these got set on fire or not. How the hell do you not know? You're sitting right there. So that was dumb. Like you really cut the shit out of the really what could have been a very interesting angle, very interesting cliffhanger. All you had to do was do Raw Talk somewhere else. That's all you had to do. Is say we don't know what's going on the other side. We were told to evacuate the building or evacuate that area, just in case. And then if we know something by the end of this show, we'll let you know. That's all you had to do. Do the show somewhere else. But you put the cameras right there because you got to use your set that you set up. Stupid. It was a stupid, and I can understand why it might have been an oversight. But the last Raw of the year ends with a man threatening to set a woman on fire because he has a lit match. And, maybe some hero came down to the ring and saved Alexa Bliss, and that's what happened. We shall find out on the Legends Night episode of Raw, which is, yes, next week. So overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't too terrible. I enjoy Alexa Bliss's performance. The facial expressions, different things like that. Like I said, they're using her neoteny really well as far as her looking very childlike. I didn't really care for the whole idea of people just being able to walk inside the fun house without Bray being there or Alexa. They could just walk into it and interact. But I do like that, again, they kind of, there was kind of an important thing that, you could touch different things in the funhouse, but these things did not talk back. They didn't interact with him. He was able to interact with them by throwing them around, but they basically just like toys, and it would be like going in there and knocking plates out of the cupboards, like they were just there like inanimate objects, as opposed to when Alexa Bliss and Bray are there and they're alive and they're moving around. So you had to ask the question of what's going on here. So, but that part was interesting. It was mostly good. There was some cringe. Obviously, you're doing an angle where somebody's going to get set on fire, so it's not going to be perfectly logical. But I thought it was fun. I like that Alexa Bliss keeps making these burn jokes because they're corny on purpose. It's almost like she doesn't take the death of the Fiend seriously. So, but it puts you in a weird position with her because how serious does she take this? Is she being sent to test Randy Orton? And you believe that Alexa Bliss is an agent of the Fiend. So she's testing him to do all of these things to see how far he will go. But at what point does the test end? Was she going to be saved at the end of the day, or was she just going to burn? Because that was to test her loyalties, or whatever the case may be. And why is Nikki Cross out of this storyline? I just forgot about that. It didn't just pop into my head until just now. It would have been a perfect time for Nikki Cross to come down there and it's this is too much. That's enough of this. This is too much. Stop this. And that way you could have had, Randy not get stopped, but you could have had it not happen. But you could have had somebody else interfere, basically by having, maybe Randy drops the match and Alexa Bliss is about to be set on fire, and then Nikki Cross tackles her and drags her out of the ring or something like that. That would have been really nice. That would have been a really good touch. And you could have kept the next Nikki Cross into this storyline. But I guess Nikki Cross is out. I guess that one match that they had was going to be the only match that they have, which sucks. That sucks because there's still a lot of meat on that bone. There's still a lot of meat on that Nikki Cross bone, man. I don't know. I think they was just looking for a reason to get rid of her. Just looking for a reason to get rid of her. But she, if you need to pad this story out, because we don't know how long the Fiend's going to be gone. We need to pad this out. You can't just have a guy gone for 2 weeks and then be like, oh, he's back. It's that sucks. Oh, they also, as something brought up, they did hint that he might attack Hulk Hogan. that he might come after his hero Hulk Hogan. I think that maybe we'll get Funhouse Bray that shows up to talk about Hulk Hogan, or talk to Hulk Hogan or something like that. That would be, I think, cool. That show that, you know, the Fiend has been burned, but not Funhouse Bray. Funhouse Bray is fine. You know, that as weird as it is, I think that that might actually work. Like, if you could get, like, the Fiend was set on fire, but Bray Wyatt is fine. Like, it's cartoonish as hell, but I think that that might work. You might be able to get away with that. You might be able to get away with Funhouse Bray showing up wearing his little gloves and him talking about how much, you know, he loved Hulk Hogan as a kid and all that stuff, and how the Fiend hates Hulk Hogan, but the Fiend's been set on fire, so you don't have to worry about that. But he got to be out there and be a mark for a little bit. That might be okay, you know. But we'll see. This is very interesting. It's a very interesting angle. That's one thing I can say about it, is the cliffhanger was fine until the Raw talk, but it was a very interesting angle. Very unique, very creative. I ain't never seen anything where somebody dared you to set them on fire before. At least I think I might have seen it on a TV show or something. But I don't think I've ever seen that shit in wrestling before, so it's brand new, you know. And I liked it. I thought it was interesting. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel, send me money if you want, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for your time.